So now we are moving into section 4 and we are talking about point slope form. And on the last video I said there's a lot of memorization in this chapter, and I said you need to go ahead and make yourself flashcards and start memorizing those flashcards. And I gave you some examples of some flashcards you should have made up until that point, and now I want you to add to your list of flashcards. So give yourself another flashcard and add to it what is point slope form, and on the other side write y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. You need to memorize these. So I said before you watch this video, write down exactly what point slope form is and then identify what each variable represents. And that's what you should have written down. M is your slope, x1 is the x value of a coordinate, and y1 is the y value of a coordinate. Now, the other xy's represent coordinates as well, but we just don't know what they are. We are going to be given a coordinate, and x1 and y1 are going to be the x and y values of the coordinate that we're going to be given. So it's super important that you see where this equation comes from. Look at what the equation is for slope. Slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Do you see what happens when I multiply both sides by the denominator? Look at what happens when I multiply both sides by x2 minus x1. I get point slope form. Do you see how these are the same thing? Pause the video and make sure you understand how I got from my slope formula to the point slope form. And then also make sure you see how these are the same thing. Pause the video and study that and make sure you see that. Because it's extremely important that you understand that the slope formula, that slope-intercept form, that point slope form, and then the next form we're going to learn later is standard form. It's important that you understand they are all different forms of the same equation. So now let's go to example number 1, how to write an equation in point slope form. So example number 1 says a line passes through -3, 6 and has a slope of -5. Write the equation of this line in point slope form. And that's why you have to memorize the different forms, is because sometimes you're going to be asked to put it into slope-intercept form, sometimes you're going to be asked to put it into point slope form, and you need to know the difference between them. So this is how you do this. The first thing you have to do is you have to label what is your x coordinate and what is your y coordinate. So my x is -3, my y is 6, and so then what do? I just plug it into the formula. And there's your answer. Now be careful you don't say x minus -3. That's not appropriate form. We want to go ahead and just abbreviate that by saying x plus 3. So go ahead and hit pause and work out the on your own and create an equation of this line in point slope form. This line has a slope of 2/3 and it runs through the point 8, -4. Pause the video. Okay, so you label your xy coordinate. That's super important that you do that. And here's the equation of the line. Y plus 4 equals 2/3 times x minus 8. Okay, now we're going to graph using point slope form. So we are given all the information that we need right here. We're given our slope. Our slope is 2/3, and we're also given a coordinate point. Our coordinate point is 2, 1. Pause the video and make sure that you see and understand where I got that from. My slope is right here, it's 2/3, and my coordinate point is going to be 2 and 1. And remember, it's going to be a positive 2 and a positive 1 because look back at what the formula is. Remember what the formula is. The formula is y minus y1 equals your slope times x minus x1. So now you're just doing exactly what you've been doing before. In order to graph a line, all I need is the slope in 1 point. I have the slope in 1 point. So what's my first point? My first point's at 2, 1. And my slope is 2 over 3, and it's positive. So I'm going to go up 2 over 3. Up 2 over 3. I'm also going to go ahead and go down 2 over 3. Down 2 over 3. Down 2 over 3. Being very careful that I keep this as a positive line. It's a positive slope. Okay, so now go ahead and hit pause and graph this equation. Okay, I want to go ahead and graph it for you so you can see me work it out. My slope is going to be negative 4 over 5, and then my x coordinate is going to be 4, and my y coordinate is going to be negative 7. Please make sure you see and understand how this is negative 7, because remember, this is y minus y1. So this must have been negative. It must have been y minus negative 7. So pause the video if you need to and make sure you see and understand why my y value is going to be negative 7. Okay, so I know my slope is negative 4 over 5. My coordinate point is going to be 4, negative 7. That's all the information that I need in order to graph this line. So I have a point at 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I have my first point at 4, negative 7. My slope is a negative 4 over 5. Up 4, over to the left 5. Up 4, left 5. Up 4, left 5. Because I want this to be a negative slope. And how many points do you need to put in there? Well, enough that you have a good idea of what this line looks like. And finally, last example, using 2 points to write an equation. Okay, so, and again, I'm asking you to write the equation in this form. Okay, and be careful on the homework, it asks you to go back and forth between the 2 forms. So read the directions carefully and don't get confused. All right, so what am I going to do? Well, I know a point. I can take either point, it doesn't matter, and plug it in. So there's really 2 answers to this question. So I can say y minus 4 equals my slope, which I don't know what that is yet, and then x minus 1. Make sure you label it xy so you remember what's what. Okay, so that's one possible answer. And so either you'll have 2 possible answers because you can take either one of the points and plug it in to create the equation. But you have to figure out your slope. No matter which point you use, your slope's going to be the same. So now I have to figure out my slope. Well, how do I do that? Okay, so my slope's going to be negative 7. So here's my equation of the line. Y minus 4 equals negative 7 times x minus 1. So now go ahead and pause the video and rewrite the same equation using the other set of points because there are 2 possible answers for this question. Okay, so if I wrote this same equation with the other set of points, my answer would be y plus 3 equals negative 7, my slope is going to be the same, times x minus 2. So both of these equations are correct answers to the question. There's two possible answer choices. Okay, now before we break, I just want to show you something really cool. Again, so I just showed you how we got this formula from the slope formula. Let me show you how easily we can convert this into slope-intercept form. So let me distribute out my -7. Now let me subtract 3 from both sides. And this is the same equation of the line in in point slope form and slope intercept. But do you see how easily I went from point slope form to slope intercept? So go ahead and stop the video, do your homework, and let me know if you have any questions. And just remember, everything that we're learning, they're all the same equation in different forms. That's extremely important, and this proves it to you. It's the same equation, but in different forms.